We're out looking for some crappie today. Water temperature here is around 40 degrees right now. And so what I'm doing right now is I'm starting shallow. Just kind of looking for fish, because there's a time in the winter time that for whatever reason these crappie like to go shallow. This is a big school of shad right here. You can see them on the down imaging and the side imaging both. And there is a few fish around it. They're just probably following that school of shad around. We're only in about 8 to 9 foot of water right now. As of so far, I haven't seen enough fish to stop and fish for them yet, but we just keep working our way out here. I'm kind of zigzagging back and forth. This is just going to slowly get into around maybe 20 foot of water in the area we're fishing right now. The lake's dropped about 2 feet, so I'll have to adjust my mapping a little bit, but that's one of the great things about Lake Master is you adjust your depths to whatever the lake levels dropped from or went up. So there's a spot coming up here. It looks like a lot of potential. You can tell there's a little rise in there by the topo, and so we're just going to ease by and try to stay to one side of it and just see if we can spot fish on that. Oh yeah, there's fish on this. We're a little bit farther away, but you can see a lot of shadows right there that's all around. There's a little brush right there, and looks like there's crappie kind of scattered all around it. Probably gonna be a good place to start. Most of the time, whenever you need to put a waypoint down, you can just go to, you can either do it on 2D or DI, or if you're doing side imaging, you hit your cursor button, and you just take that cursor button over to where that area is that you want to fish, like showing it right there, and you push menu twice, and you made a waypoint, and you can see it popped up on here. There's like 2 waypoints. What I'm doing is I'm coming up on top of a little hump right here, and this is brush pile, and that's fish in between the brush pile, and I may have spooked them a little bit, but you can see there's some fish right there. When you look up here on the side, they kind of went off to our left side, but that's kind of what we're looking for, but it kind of gives you an idea how deep the fish are hanging. So far, everything's looking around 10 foot deep. Before, I never had the privilege of knowing what's out in front of me as far as depth and how far exactly they are. Those fish are kind of just slightly off to our left, the way the trolling motor's pointing. The way I've got mine set up, I got my transducers on my trolling motor, so whichever direction that trolling motor points is where the fish are going to be at. Okay, now it looks like some fish are suspended up there at about 8 foot, so I'm going to maybe try them first. Right there, my jig's right above that log, and knowing that and being able to drop straight down, or just knowing it's there, keeps me from maybe jerking because I might think it's a fish. But in this case, I'm going to drop it all the way to the bottom, and I know I'm right around that log. And I know that there's been some fish under it, so I'm going to just see if I can go down below and see if I can tease another and come up and hit it. And sometimes this will make them go ahead and fire. Just start bringing it back up, and they'll follow it up just like that. Just another little tactic that helps out, because it seems like whenever that bait falls to the bottom, they sometimes will follow it down, and then when it starts leaving, they go ahead and react and they bite it. We're still right on top of some, so here we go. I fell right in the middle of them, so it ought to be good. He's looking at it. There he comes. Got him. That's a little better one. It's like a video game. You just kind of watch what they're doing, watch how they react to your bait. Sometimes you have to fiddle with it a little bit to get them to bite. Sometimes they want it just to hold dead still. Sometimes you got to move it up from them. Sometimes you got to drop it below them and then bring it back up. And one way or another, a lot of times you can get them to fire on it. And it looks like the brush is more to our right, so I'm going to move it slightly to our right. Let's try that now. There's my jig. I'm going to take it plumb to the bottom here. I'm going to go straight down to them. Okay, now there's some fish right there. There's one coming. Got him. Patience paid off. We may have something going on now. There's my jig, just past him. I'm dropping it down within about a foot or so of him. Let's see now if there's any one of them guys wants to eat. Got him. He was down there pretty deep. That's a pretty good fish too. Another pretty good quality fish for Lake of the Ozarks. That's probably about a 12-inch fish, which is what we call a good fish here. You can tell range out, we're about 10 foot from them. They're in front of the boat. And I'm just gonna see if I can't get us to get over top of them. There we go. Now you can see them a lot better. You can see the fish down in the brush. They're hanging pretty tight in the brush today, but really good detail of what we got down there. And kind of the mass inside that's the crappie. They're just hanging right in the middle of it. I wound up buying a 7.4 FX rod because of the fact that whenever you're looking down all the time, you have a tendency with a short rod to maybe let that trolling motor eat your jig. So what I try to do is get one just a little bit longer just so I could try to avoid that. There's my jig going down. There's fish right there. He's looking at it. And he hit it. That's what it's all about right there. In the wintertime, these fish, they're cold-blooded. And cold-blooded fish, you know, they kind of react to the water temperature. So normally what that creates is them being a little lethargic. And early in the morning, like we're out here, the sun's just popping up. We've got out a pretty early start. These fish are seeing probably the coldest water we're going to see today. And so they just tend to be a little bit slower about biting, a little lethargic. But, you know, what we try to do whenever we're fishing and they're lethargic is we try to just kind of drop it right on their heads and sometimes just hold it there. There's one coming. Oh, I got him. That was a case of one that's pretty lethargic. He just laying there. But I put that jig probably within a foot or two of him, and he decided, you know, I think I'm just going to go ahead and eat it. We got it spot locked right now, so you saw that fish just go right back down in the brush that I just released. That's pretty cool. I've got a Bobby Garland baby shad. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to just hold that jig real slow right in front of these fish because of them being pretty lethargic. And sometimes what you got to do, just got to tease them a little bit. Like I just watched that fish. He come up and looked at it, and that's a pretty decent fish. I raised it up just a little bit, just enough to tease him, and he decided that maybe his breakfast was getting ready to leave him, so he decided I better go ahead and eat it.